Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we want to have another look at the Cosmic desktop environment. I first had a look at it in Alpha 1. It is now Alpha 5. It is still a very clearly alpha software. I'm going to highlight several of the bugs. Not to say it's a bad system, but because it is a work in progress, and I just kind of wanted to have a look and poke around at the system and see how well it happens to be working. And so what I wanted to do is first show you one of the things on the install I wasn't very excited about, and then we wanted to look at some issues with networking, video playback, which is one of the new features, the video playback at least, is one of the new features that they had in their system. Now, of course, Cosmic desktop environment is a desktop environment that was sort of a replacement for GNOME. It had some of the GNOME-like features, but also had some of the other things that GNOME was steering in a different direction that they really liked. So they took it upon themselves to create an entire desktop environment in the Rust programming language. Cosmic desktop environment is the flagship desktop of PopOS, once it is fully established at least, which is an Ubuntu-based system seeking to make a lot of good movements towards privacy, with fixing some of the microcode issues in processors and System 76 computers on the firmware level. Also just being just a really good, robust system, which is really targeted more for developers. It has a lot of back-end packages developers might need that may not be on a lot of other systems. So PopOS is an excellent distribution, definitely one of the tops. And the Cosmic desktop environment is demonstrating a lot of things that, hey, there's some things in it that kind of even makes it attractive to me in many ways once it's actually out there and fully functioning. Now, what we're going to do here is there's one thing in the installer I had questions about. I'd like to know your input in that in the comments down below. So we're going to run an install on a virtual machine, just have a look at what that one point is. But the rest of the end of the video is all done on real hardware. Now, I installed it on my main streaming system like I usually do because it has the IC box, IC dock, allowing me to remove all of the hard drives except the installation media and the target media. And I did some of the original testing out over there. And then I ended up wanting to record this on the laptop, which is a Ryzen 5 53U laptop, a 5300U, I think. And I wanted to run it over there just to test the other issues. I was having a lot of kernel panics on that particular laptop just after playing around with it. Initially, it worked just fine. It just got to the point where it stopped working fine. And so I did get a chance to positively, I'll just report now, Bluetooth worked fine, networking worked fine, wireless cards worked fine, all that. Now, as far as interacting with network files, there are some warnings and some serious problems with that. Don't use Cosmic desktop environment with networking at this time. I'll explain why inside the video, at least from my personal perspective. And then we're going to have a look at that new media player that wasn't, apparently. So we'll go ahead and first we'll look at the installation on a virtual machine, and then we'll look at the final desktop, and let me know your thoughts at the end of the video.
I want to run through the installer of PopOS here. I just have a couple of minor comments here. We are going to do the rest of the looking on real hardware, not on the VM. But I did want to show one thing here in the installation. I thought I'd just do that on a quick screen record. The PopOS installer is definitely one of the better, easier to use installers here. So we're starting by just selecting our language and then keyboard layouts and all of the basic things that you'd expect to do. Now here you have the option to custom or basically just do things all manually. You can move over into the demo mode, or you can do a clean install. So we're going to go ahead and look at that. Now you will see a list of all of your available disks. So when I installed this on real hardware, I had the main disk I was installing to, and of course I even had the, in that case I had the Ventoy disk as well. So we're going to pick the default one. Now you're going to enter your name here, which is going to be your username, and then this is also the name for your home folder. And then you choose your account password, and we're going to use definitely not my super secret password. That's definitely not 123. And then on the next step here, what I wanted to point out here is there is an encryption step that the default is to use the same encryption as your user account password. I'm not sure I like that idea. I'm just kind of pondering that. I was curious to know what other people thought about that. I have always kept my decryption key for unlocking my hard drive as separate from my user account login. This is their default, and that just doesn't seem that good to me. So what you might want to do is deselect this and set a password, or you can choose your don't encrypt. So they're kind of using a dark pattern to get the encryption, which I'm okay with that dark pattern. I think for the most part, your disks should be encrypted. I just think you should be aware of it and set those options up. That's what differentiates me from, Microsoft or whatever. So I'm just going to go ahead and use a strong decryption password as my cats get into a fight behind me. Did you guys hear that cat hiss? Hey, what are you guys doing down there? All right. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and decrypt that. And then from here, it just gets in here, partitions the drive, and will install the system, usually about 5 or so minutes. So the installer is very nice. I did want to highlight that one issue with the encryption key. And let me know your thoughts about that. But with that, let's go ahead and jump over to real hardware, and we'll have a look at what the options on this look like. Here we are on the desktop here, and first I just want to have a look at the release notes, so the latest on the Alpha 5 here. So the first thing is the media player, and I was really excited about this until I actually started playing with it. Tried several videos, nothing works, but we'll get into that and we'll look at those. And then they did some changes, like the Alt Tab reordering is done. You can see I have my screen recorder running and Firefox is there. We did variable refresh rates, and then we have some adjustments to the user settings. So down here, system accounts, users, user settings and things like that. So the desktop is really starting to look like a good desktop. It's getting there. Is this still alpha? Oh, this is so alpha still, to the point where I really actually wanted to run this on my laptop. And really I ran a lot of those stuff I was doing this morning on the laptop for testing. I wanted to test the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and things like that. Most of that kind of stuff all worked, but there's something going on with this system, and that laptop just does not want to run it right now. I don't know if it's after I installed a software package or whether it was, I don't know, no idea what it is. The system constantly kernel panics running it on a laptop now. So we're back to the desktop where it seems to be running generally fine. I've only had a couple of situations where I had to reset things. Over here, opening links in the terminal, you can just left click links to open them in the terminal. Then we have a new context drawer for inside of your file manager there. So if you're seeing an image, so let's go ahead and have a look at our videos here. And there, if you, no, don't add to the sidebar. That's not what I meant to do. Show details. This is that new panel, so it's going to show you information about it. So it says video. It will give us the container here and modified the owner's permissions, things like that. So that's a new function that they have over there for each individual type of file. And then a number of different bug fixes. It is working. It is still a work in progress to keep in mind. But the first couple things I want to notice on this particular video is they do have that default media player. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to run anything. So here is 1984. Of course, I can play this one because it's public domain at this point in time. And you see it says no video or audio file. Okay. And here is this, and this is a screen recording of one of the previous videos I recorded on the channel. I don't know which one, but it'll play the audio for me, but no video. And so it's actually the audio right now is actually going out through a different source. Let me show you the output audio there. Let me put that back to this. So you can see the inputs and the audio outputs are good. I'm not going to mess with the input. I don't know if that's going to interfere with screen sharing or not, but let me go ahead and run that again. Okay, so I can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it, if that picks up on the screen recording or not. So it's playing the audio track, but not the video track. So, of course, this is just an MP4 downloaded from online. This is an MKV done with probably simple screen recorder. This is a M4V. This was actually edited. This is actually this is the last weekly news roundup. You'll see it can't do anything at all on that one. You see this is video MP4 container. Snowden recommends, this is a different, this is an MP4. This is an older video that was on my drive. Doesn't recognize that. And this was the test to test the current screen recorder that I'm using here, which is it the GPU. What is the name of that again? GPU screen recorder is the name of this here. Oh, that's not what I meant to pull up. I meant to pull up this one here. And once again, it'll play the audio, but it won't play the video. Now it's like, what's going on here? So it's like, well, I installed VLC. Oh, look at that. It actually just showed up. Okay, it was not showing up. VLC was not showing up, and there was no way to add the video. I actually had to open VLC manually. So if I go and say, let's open that up in VLC, you'll see the video does actually play. And so these aren't broken videos. They will play. Let's open with VLC. I was actually surprised VLC showed up. Maybe that was a reboot. Occasionally I was getting issues where that wouldn't load up. Now, this led to another question as I was looking to install VLC. The VLC might show up and start playing soon. I have no idea. Software installer. They have a really good software installer. I'm going to have a few notes first. Like a lot of your other software installers, when you first load it up, it has to, there's our, there it is. It plays the audio. Once again, it doesn't play the video. So the software installer, like the other ones, when you open it up the first time, it has to populate the data. It'd be nice if it had something in there indicating that it's populating data. I'm on a really slow internet connection. It took over 15 minutes to populate data. I actually thought the store was broken. And since there's no other things to look for settings or repos or anything else in here, then I wasn't sure what was going on. Actually, I went over to the Matrix server to ask if anybody else has had this issue. And as soon as I posted that, boom, everything populated. And they're handling some things. In some instances, they're handling stuff like Flatpaks really well. So like Audacity here, we have a flat hub or a system version. So you can install each of them based on that single search for Audacity. But when I went to install VLC, we have two separate VLCs. One is the flat hub and one is the system. So I'm not sure why some of these are showing up multiple times. Some of them are not. I have no idea. Let's look at LibreOffice. Of course, LibreOffice also is one that has a flat hub or a repository version. So this is a system. This is the flat hub. This is a system, so there's not a lot of cohesiveness. Now, probably because this is that full all-in-one package, and these are if you want the individual codes, that's probably the case, but most of your system packages also has the full code base one as well. And we don't have a pull down for that. So it's interesting to see the Software Center does tend to work. It did take a little bit longer because I am on a slower internet, but it did finally work. And for the most part, this works really well. I like it. I wish there were maybe a little bit more, settings or options. Of course, if you do need to manage the repos, there is a repo man here. And I did test this up, and a guy with a tow truck and a cigar did not come to tow me away. But, bad jokes aside, this is actually where you adjust your repositories and other things like this. Do you want to include source codes? Do you want to do pre-release updates? Do you want software with copyright or legal issues? Do you want restricted? Do you want the community maintained? So you have a lot of granular control inside of this, which is really nice. So as far as your updates, this is your important security updates, recommended updates, and unsupported updates. Those were all set by default. Here's your extra sources. Of course, if you needed to add any extra repository here, you can add one. And then Flatpak is set up already with FlatHub enabled. So that is already set up for you. You can, of course, add other Flatpak repositories there as well. That's how you make adjustments to your repositories. So as far as other options, from the last time I was here, the workspaces actually are working better. They actually were working a lot better. I actually got previews of what was on each screen on the laptop. I'm not getting that here for some reason. I'm not sure why that is. But it is definitely a marked improvement over the last time I tested this out, where workspaces were not working at all. Maybe it's just down to graphics card. I'm not sure exactly what the difference is here. But looking at the system settings, let me jump over to, obviously here on this, we only have the wired. I did test the Bluetooth, the wireless, all that is working just fine. Those were all tested on the laptop. I wish the laptop were booting properly right now, or I would show you that. As far as your wallpapers, that's fairly standard there. And you can set your accent colors over here. And then I do like this option where you can tweak the adjustment. You can tweak the size of the buttons. I am not a fan of these pill buttons these days. But that's a personal preference. And then, do you want things to be more compact? Do you want things to be more spacious? So basically, it's adjusting the padding in between the elements. And then the active window size. So that's the big, thick border we have there. You can make that thicker or smaller, non-existent. So you can go, nice and thick with that if you want to. I actually kind of like a little bit smaller, so I'm going to do that. And then the gaps around the tiled windows. This is, of course, they have window tiling built into the system, and that'll control the gaps around those. So those are some simple adjustments. And then we have let's do the panel first. With the panel at the very top, it's the smallest size possible. You can make it increase the opacity if you want. I'm not sure I like the no opacity at all, but I do actually kind of like it just a little bit. You can kind of tell it's up there, but not entirely. You can extend the panel to the full edges or just use the top. And then you can do some gap around the screen as well. So that new plasma floating look, which I'm not personally a fan of, but that's okay. Other options down here, we can look at the panel applets. So what all is up here on the panel, we have the start segments over here, and then we have the calendar in the middle, and then we have all of our other options over there. And then there are some other ones you can add if you want to customize your top panel in any way you want. So that's actually nice that they have those features coming in here. And then, of course, the dock. I'm not a huge fan of the dock options, but let's see if we can make it a little bit better for me. Let's go down in size a little bit. There you go. That's a little bit nicer. And then once again, we can adjust the background opacity, and then we can configure dock applets. So right now it's actually putting everything down there. So if I really wanted to do something a little bit different, maybe I could just move things around, and I could basically make myself a panel that is more fitting to what I like. Let's do that. And then we'll keep the app tray in the middle, and then we'll put minimize segments down there. And then there's other options. So I can add a variety of different things. Maybe let's add a power bar, add sound. I think most of the other stuff is already at the top as well, so I'm okay with that. So let's close that. So we can make ourselves a little panel that works a little bit better. So we can actually make the adjustments. I can make this pretty close to what I actually want. And bonus, I'm not sure if this was in here last time or not. I'm going to bring highlight to it because I mentioned it a lot that I work off of the desktop. It's kind of what a desktop is for. You can work right off the desktop. I'm not sure if that was always in here before or not, but you can work off the desktop in this, and I'm actually pleased about that. That greatly increases the possibility I could possibly use Cosmic in the future. I can set this up very similar to how I might want a desktop setup. This is your Finder, of course. Here's your workspaces and things like that. Now, the other thing I did want to test, and I want to give you some very fast warnings on networking. Networking works sort of. First, if you go down to the network and then it doesn't say anything, just move through the folder and move back, and boom, your network shows up. So I have my Raspberry Pi Open Media Vault system set up here, and if you come in here, it says unable to access the network drive. Okay, interesting. I was actually able to access my network drive before. Because I clicked the SSH. Duh, I'm a moron. Anyway, so now once you get into here, you can actually get in, and you need to authenticate yourself in here. So if I can do my password that quick, let's see. All right, and then you can get in here and you can see that there are individual files. Now, here is your huge warning. Number one, I have not been able to write anything to the network. So you can't copy things from your system to your shared folders. Let's just go down to my shared folder, and I'm going to copy my new file, and this is what we get. So we have an operation not supported. So this is what we get when we're trying to move anything over onto our OpenShare. Now, OpenShare is my unauthenticated, completely unauthenticated system that allows me to just basically share. My NetShare is the one that allows me to upload things in an authenticated model. I get the same issue. You'll notice that it moves the file over of 0 size, so probably like a bad permission or something. But the other thing that I have found is that if you're trying to move a file off of the server, it does not copy files off the server. It moves files off of the server. So when I first put the 1984 public domain video from my server over, it moved the server. I'm like, well, that's not good. I went to move it back, and it wouldn't move back. Fortunately, you can actually move things to a USB drive. So I moved it to the USB drive, put it on a different computer, and put the file back on my server. So just be very aware that your networking stuff, you can move things from your network to your local computer, but you can't put them back. And it was when I tried to copy something is what caused a kernel panic the one time. Also, you'll notice that I do have this wonderful yellow bar around my system now, and I have no idea why. And that seemed to be an element of just something with working with the network. So I have no idea what that what the active window on my active desktop happens to be at this point in time. So just little odds and ends. So once again, Cosmic is still a work in progress. We're not dumping on the system entirely because this is still an alpha software, but I did want to have a look at the things and maybe highlight a few issues that I was having with it in the event, maybe the developers look at this. If you want more information about the system, let me know. I'd be glad to upload system specs. But once again, on this streaming computer, which is a Ryzen 5 1600, it seems to work just fine. I was working on it just fine on my laptop for half the morning until I just having constant kernel panics. And so I just went ahead to this computer to do the video. So that's my current look at Cosmic desktop. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below.